What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua was on the Breakfast Club, and I seen a snigment of him talking to Charlemagne the God, which Charlemagne the God is a pro Wilder guy, so he had to really break it down to Charlemagne the God on what his intentions were and what his future plans are. Now, mind you, he wanted to fight Wilder on the 13th. That fell through. Wilder didn't want that. He wanted to fight Fury. Of course, we don't know how that's going to work out. They wanted to freeze out Joshua, right? Because they didn't want him leading the pack, so to speak, in negotiations. So that was a power move, okay? But then, Anthony Joshua did go on to say once again, that if he gets past Jarrell Big Baby Miller, his next step is Luis King Kong Ortiz, okay, in the fall. So, mind you, if the Fury Wilder fight doesn't happen in May, okay, and it happens in September, so these guys are wrapped up fighting each other, okay, well, then Anthony Joshua, like he said, will take on Luis Ortiz. And a lot of people, because when he said that on the zone, okay, he said that on the zone, I think that was the beginning of the year or right before the beginning of the year. And he called out Ortiz, because remember, he called Ortiz out first. I'm keep telling you guys, he wanted Ortiz, then White, then Miller, okay, if not Deontay, right? So this falls into what he was saying before. He just didn't want Ortiz right away. You know what I mean? I think that's a little bit of strategy or whatever, but I don't think that Joshua wanted to come into the American market and fight someone like Ortiz right off the bat, because that's going to be a fight that it's not going to be easy like people think it is. Yes, Anthony Joshua is the younger, fresher fighter. He is the champion. I'm not disputing any of that. Okay. But Ortiz is an experienced guy, a seasoned guy. Okay. Regardless of how old you think he is, it doesn't matter when it comes to the heavyweight division, because you can ask Mr. Deontay. Anybody can be hurt. So you call that old man, people can get hurt by that old man. Okay. Just look at his knockout ratio. So that fight will be worth seeing. That fight will be worth mentioning. And I'm excited to see him say that, because that is the next best alternative. Forget Dillian White. Dillian White has his own things to do. You know what I mean? But let's just see if he's a man of his word and see if he takes that fight if Fury and Wilder fight each other in September or in the fall. Okay? Because a lot of people say, well, Miller's American and this and that. The dude was born in Belize. Ortiz was born in Cuba. They both live here now. Sure, I know Miller is pretty much a New York because he raised in New York, okay? But if you really wanted to compare those two, he mentions, my upbringing, and I'm come from a third world country. You know what I'm saying? So, he represents Belize. He's a New Yorker. He's a Brooklynite. Sure, I get that. But, it's like both of those dudes wasn't born here. So Luis Ortiz lives here now. So, you know what I mean? You could market that fight all the same. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? Just add a translator. You know what I mean? But that is good news for Anthony Joshua to take the steps that he's taking. Because what happens, like I've told everyone, he fights Ortiz and beats Ortiz, okay? After that, Wilder, depending on what happens in the Wilder Fury rematch, if that ever happens, right? This is a big if, okay? But it could happen. That takes Deontay Wilder's credibility. See, one thing, your best opponent that you have on your resume, if your opponent then gets beaten, that's like a leg that's being crippled. That's one of your Achilles heel. That is Achilles heel for Deontay Wilder. And Anthony Joshua just took a knife and severed it by fighting Ortiz. That's why a lot of people, including myself, wanted that Ortiz fight now. You know what I mean? So there won't be no excuses. Oh, Ortiz looked old. He looked like he had bad legs. He looked, you know what I mean? He didn't look like he would have looked when he fought Wilder. We know all that. That's why I wanted him to fight him in either April 13th or sometime like he's fighting Miller. You know what I mean? Miller's just an undefeated fighter. You know what I mean? That was chosen. You know, that talked up a good game to get this fight, which is good for him, right? So, but anyway, I'm glad that he did go on the Breakfast Club because the Breakfast Club was like a pro Wilder guy. They did not like Anthony Joshua on that. You know, they bashed Joshua, especially when Deontay Wilder was a guest on that show. And I'm glad that he's taken the lead now and taking the initiative to come on these particular platforms and these podcasts. You know what I mean? Again, I would like to see him on Joe Rogan. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Anthony Joshua's future plans if there's no Wilder fight or Fury fight. Of course, please subscribe, guys. And you guys been counterpunched. Peace.